WDWNT on the Air is proud to bring to you a WDWNT's original program. This is Around the Hub. 4 panelists from around the Disney fan community come here to see who's best in the sport of competitive banter. Points are awarded for good ideas and deducted at the whim of the host. The panelist with the most points at the end of the game gets 30 uninterrupted seconds of a meme to talk about whatever Disney topic they would like. Our panel return to Season 4, now streaming live on YouTube. It's Run Disney expert Eric Lancy. You may know him as the mayor or Justin Hammond, but really, he's Justin Hyman. The one and only, he is the beard. Welcome, Jason Diffendahl. And finally, last but certainly not least, he is the former editor-in-chief of WDWNT the magazine. Remember that? Please welcome David Smith. And I am your host, Patrick Hackett. So happy to bring you back to Season 4 with all the new technology we have here on WDWNT on the Air. So come aboard and let's get cracking with some Around the Hub.
Hello and welcome to the always ridiculous live episode of Around the Hub. Thank you for stepping away from Pokemon Go for a few minutes. Around the Hub is your source for competitive Disney banter and witty repartee. The game is played by 4 knowledgeable contestants who go through 3 rounds of topics, earning points for well-thought-out ideas and losing them at the whim of the host. The panelist with the most points at the end of the game wins their very own meet and greet. There, they get 30 uninterrupted seconds to talk about whatever Disney topic they would like. You've met the panel. You know the rules. Now, let's play Around the Hub. Our first round of Around the Hub is split into 2 segments, the Rope Drop and Keys to the Kingdom. In Rope Drop, we focus on the 2 biggest stories of the week, and in the Keys to the Kingdom, we take a quick tour around the entire Disney company with some fast, hard-hitting news. Here in the Rope Drop, the 2 biggest stories of the week are being thrown out the window. This week for Rope Drop, we will focus on theme park journalism, a hot topic in the Disney fan community right now. All right, Justin, let's start with the big question. Should news sites such as ours report on rumors?
Good question. So, I think the answer is 100% yes. So we're here to serve a dual purpose. I have to remember to look at the screen. So one is to hit the hard-hitting kind of news fact sites. But not too long ago, after WDWNT started to exist and really flourish, Disney Parks blogs showed up, right? And so they came out with a really official stories, if you will, and they really became the official source, even more so than the Sentinel and some of the other news sources. So in order for us to evolve a little bit, we have to come out with more rumors. And if you've noticed over the last 2 to 3 years, we've come out with a lot more rumors, but they're really hard-hitting, kind of based in fact rumors. We haven't gone to the really wacky. We try really hard to make sure that there's some facts to them, and I think that's really what our purpose is in sites like us. Or should be, at least. So, yeah, I think that's what we're here for. We're here to not only report on news, but also engage the community, also start those conversations, also have that little bit of fun. So, without that, I'm not sure why we're here.
I ask that question existentially every day. Eric, go ahead with a follow-up.
To Justin's point, with the Disney Parks blog, you're really getting the sanitized version of news that Disney wants. If you want real journalism, you need to have websites and entities like WDWNT that are going to not only report rumors, but really start to gain credibility when those rumors turn into fact. Any website can report on rumors, and if it's outlandish, well, then that website hopefully doesn't exist for too long, or if it's just bashing the company. But when you are proving...
We've been here for 9 years.
And that's why. Because this site is breaking news that the Disney company doesn't necessarily want to have broken. They're sanitizing it, and this company is pushing Disney to report actual news instead of just sort of the sanitized version that they want to give us.
All right, Eric, let's stick with you. Another big question. When reporting on things like rumors, is it okay to be wrong? What percentage should you be getting correct?
We live in a 24-hour news cycle, so you should only have to be as right as long as the news cycle lasts, because you're only remembered for your last prediction. Were you right or were you wrong? It doesn't matter if you were wrong 10 times. If you were wrong 10 times before, if you were right the last two, you're considered credible. And sometimes the news cycles are even less than 24 hours. So I think that, yes, we absolutely should be reporting on things even when we're wrong, because you never know the next 10 times we could be right. And I think that's the most important thing. What's the last thing that your readers and your viewers remember?
All right, David.
So I don't think you can necessarily put a percentage on it. And are you guys hearing me? You can't really put a percentage on it because in reality, the closer and closer you get to those sources, if you were sitting in the Imagineers conference room, you would probably get 80% of your stories wrong. The further away you get from those sources and you're relying more heavily on the Disney PR machine, the more you're going to get right, but the less active you're going to be in producing those stories.
That's a good point. And David, after your follow-up, we're going to go with you again. Do we put too much emphasis on being first and breaking news versus waiting to see what will actually happen?
I don't think we put too much emphasis on it because simply, if I wanted to get news that was completely confirmed by the Disney company and released, I would read the Disney Parks blog. I read this site because I want to know what are they thinking about doing, what is it that they potentially want to do, and how is that going to impact the park going experience. So I think it's good that we get these things out quickly so that we can start reacting to them and getting the community reaction to them. You know, it wouldn't be a bad thing for Disney to look at the reaction of the community and maybe do a change of plans if necessary when that happens.
And we've seen that happen before, and we'll get into that a little bit. Jason or Justin, that was you with the follow-up.
One of the Jays.
That was me, but that's okay.
Oh, you've got one too, Jason.
I had one first.
Go ahead. Chaos. Chaos.
It is chaos on this video. So two things. One is you say get it right versus be wrong. It's a rumor. There's no right or wrong to a rumor. A rumor is something that may or may not happen. So what you're actually asking is, will it happen or won't it happen? And until it's announced, even after it's announced by the Walt Disney Company, it still may not happen. So we report rumors that we hear from our sources. It's not like we make this stuff up. So we are correct in reporting what we hear 100% of the time. And beyond that, things may or may not happen, but you can't say we're right or wrong about it because it's just the way that life and business happens.
Very good points there. Just what you got to say.
You know, just on the point of being first or being right, you know, I think from our perspective here, at least at WDWNT, it's not about either. It's about both. And so from our perspective, yeah, we want to be first to the story because we want you to read our stuff, and we think we're pretty good at it. But ultimately, we're not going to push something to print just because, you know, somebody else might be thinking about it. We're going to push something to print because either we really believe it, we know it to be true, or we know it to be nearly true. So, you know, we're not going to hold back on things when we know that they're accurate, but we're also not going to push something out because, you know, just because.
You have good points there. It looks like Eric?
I'm sorry, Patrick. I had a little bit of a technical issue. Could you repeat that, please?
Can you guys not hear me?
We just right then it sounded a little crazy, but now we can.
All right, Eric, it's full around the hub. Go ahead.
the whole idea of being first or being right, it's a relative proposition. Just because something doesn't happen in the end or there is a change doesn't mean that you weren't right with your reporting. We all know that in 2008 and 2009 there were reports, there were plans for Hyperion Wharf in downtown Disney that never actually happened. Does that mean all of that reporting was wrong? No. Things changed. The theme park industry, the entertainment industry, is a fluid and moving proposition. It's never going to be what it started out in the end. The same thing with New Fantasyland. What we ended up with is substantially different than what was first reported on, and those reporters were not wrong for reporting that. It's just what happened. It's just what changed, and I don't think that that makes any journalist lose credibility, because in the end, they ended up looking like they were quote-unquote wrong.
All right. Let us take it over to Jason. Is it being disingenuous for theme park fans to critique a news site for park lines being changed, as we've seen with the Fantasyland expansion, Hyperion Wharf, and of course Pandora plans to change fluidly?
So we broke a lot of those stories. We broke the Hyperion Wharf story, the new Fantasyland story in particular. The Disney company announced things, and they put out concept art with that announcement, and then they changed it. So that's official from the company. That there was something that changed later on. So, I mean, we're getting these things from our sources, which are, affiliated with the company in some way, shape, or form. But in reality, if the company changes their mind, we're just going to report the change. There's no way that we can be accurate from the get-go if the company changes their mind, unless, of course, we make something up and then it happens to be right at the end. But we're reporting what we hear. It's disingenuous for people to be critical of us because the company changed its mind. We're reporting what we hear. If you don't like what we say or you don't believe us, then please go follow some other news site. But there are enough people out there that have seen what we reported and have seen it pan out and believe that what we're reporting is accurate as to what we hear, that, if you're going to critique us, then please, get your news somewhere else if you don't like what you hear from us.
So there has to be a differentiation, and I think there are some sites, and there's a legitimate critique of sites that talk about rumors as if they've already been approved and practically built. And I think one of the things that WDWNT actually does very well is to differentiate between what we hear as a rumor versus what has been announced and what we're reporting as, confirmed news. So I think as long as we make it clear to our readers what we are hearing as rumors versus what has been announced by the company, I don't think they can really be that critical when something changes. So as long as you make it very clear to them that these are the plans and this is what Disney is talking about now, but things can change, then we're not presenting it as this is the absolute final product that's going to be presented to guests.
That is a very good point. The different tags that Tom has been using lately, I think, have really helped out. Eric, we're going to go over to you. Would you rather have someone report something and update the story frequently, or wait until all chips are on the table and report it? Eric, that one's for you.
I'm sorry, Patrick. I didn't hear you. I'm having some audio issues hearing you again.
Yeah, it really seems to be coming from my end. I don't know what's really going on. So the question is, would you rather have someone report something and update the story frequently, or just wait until all the chips are on the table?
I would absolutely have someone report what they feel to be real credible news and then have to retract or have to modify. I would much rather that be the case than someone wait. The business that WDW NT is in is to report news and to entertain. If everyone is reporting news before this entity, before this company, then this company, that's what would be the downfall. I think if you're wrong, you own it, you say you're wrong, and you fix it, you correct the issue. I don't think you wait until you know concrete, because again, I go back to my point and to Jason's point earlier, things change so much. What is right today could change tomorrow, and that is not an error in reporting.
Great point there. Aaron turned off the sound effects for a minute to try and set something straight. David, the question is to you. Are theme park fans too jaded?
it's a funny question. I don't like to paint too wide of a swath here because I think there are different pockets of the community that do have different attitudes. I think we do see a large number of people who, I won't use the term jaded necessarily, but they feel entitled. They feel like the theme parks are designed for them and them alone, and they don't consider the idea that Disney is trying to build theme parks that appeal to a whole lot of people. So there may be attractions, there may be offerings that don't necessarily appeal to them directly, but that doesn't mean they're bad offerings. And I think there are a lot of people that feel like if it's not something I'm interested in, then it must be a horrible idea, and why is Disney doing this? Then there are the other group that I almost feel are, I'll say, overly optimistic. They assume that everything is going to have to be a top-of-the-line e-ticket and that there's no room for anything else. And those, I think, are just as bad as those that feel like Disney could do no right, are the ones that Disney could do no wrong. And if you kind of come somewhere in the middle of that, I think you're going to have a realistic view of what's being offered in the parks.
I think that's a big dichotomy there of the quote-unquote fanboys who think that everything's great, or, the non-pixie dusters who thinks everything's awful and everything that's going on across the street is wonderful. So those are some very, very solid points there. As we continue, we are going to... Oh, boy, I just missed the spot in the script. These are usually edited out. Jason, what has been the best reaction / overreaction you've seen to her?
Oh, this is to me. Sorry. Okay. I think the best overreaction I've seen is the anything having to do with Guardians of the Galaxy. I think there's enough people that believe that Guardians of the Galaxy doesn't belong in Epcot, and it doesn't belong in studios, at least not at Tower of Terror. I mean, so that overlay has gone from Tower of Terror to Mission Space to Universe of Energy, and there are certainly enough people out there, including myself, that think that it doesn't really fit well at any of those places, and it really, doesn't need to be a cheaply done overlay. They really should either not do anything, or they should spend the money to make a new attraction for that property. But I mean, there have just been people up in arms left and right about Guardians of the Galaxy overlays, because it spans so many different possibilities, that people have just gone crazy.
Justin, do we and should we expect more from name brand Disney blogs, podcasts, and others from the million sites that seem to be popping up more frequently?
Should we expect more? It depends what your baseline is, I guess, about expecting more. But I think that this brand of news and entertainment that we put out is probably, and this is going to sound somewhat self-serving, it's not intended to be, what should be expected, though. A constant sunny view of the company is disingenuous, in my opinion, and shouldn't be expected. A constant negative view shouldn't be expected. A level playing field that attempts to break news, attempts to entertain on some level, and attempts, and I said this earlier, to engage the community. We've been doing a lot of things more and more even the format of Around the Hub tonight, to try to make sure that we're being as engaging as possible, as community focused as possible, and that's what we aim to do. And I think that's the expectation, is that the news sites are a form of community building around this company, and that should be the level of expectation. To expect more, keep in mind 90% of the sites like ours are guys like us who spend their free time doing this and trying to do the best that they can. So, the level of expectation, I think, should be moderately held.
I'm sorry, guys. It's getting difficult for me to do this. Is why a couple of you said we should put it out there. Listeners, I do my best to try and deal. I'm taking a side right now. What can I do to improve my stream, guys?
Patrick, you're talking about your audio issues. It's really hard to hear you.
No.
The only thing I can think of is if you want to just pause for a second and drop and try to come back in. So everybody watching the live stream, this is certainly the first time that we've done Around the Hub in this format. I think you all have come to expect nothing less but some sort of technical difficulty, so bear with us. We will try to keep it going. So in the meantime, I know we're going to lose points for this because we're not actually on. But to Jason's point about that overreaction on the Guardians thing, we don't even know if it's going to be overlay, and people are freaking out. We don't even know what it is.
We don't know what it is, not at all.
People are freaking out. I mean, this could just be we're going to bulldoze Universe of Energy and build something there that could be like the most fantastic attraction we've seen in 20 years.
But the problem with that is that it still doesn't belong in Epcot, and that's I think what the concern is there's enough people out there that are into Disney and they're into Pixar and the Muppets and Star Wars, but they're not into Marvel. And I think that's where much of the overreaction comes from, is that probably a huge majority of the people that are up in arms about Guardians of the Galaxy have never seen Guardians of the Galaxy. So they're concerned that this new entity is encroaching on our Epcot and it doesn't belong there, and they don't understand whether it will fit or not because they haven't really looked into it. And I believe that they could bulldoze energy and build a completely new attraction. The problem is that I don't know that Guardians of the Galaxy is the right theme for that attraction. Certainly, the Tron Light Cycle Power Run is probably a more proper fit into Epcot than Guardians of the Galaxy is. At least that would be my argument. I think that's maybe not a sentiment shared by everyone out there. But there are, I think, possibilities that don't involve Marvel in Epcot that are probably better than Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
See,
Hey!
We'll get back to Patrick in just a second, but
Patrick,
I think
I just scored 17 points and you missed it.
I don't know.
He scored 17, but I had 25, so just tell him that after.
All right.
I haven't given my point yet, and that's 30 guaranteed. So.
right.
I mean, I think you guys are scoring a bit higher than usual.
Yeah, maybe.
You've been a little bit eager with that point button there, Patrick. No, but
It's
Jason,
just been repeating.
Your audio is much better, Patrick. I think we're
It is.
good.
All right,
Yeah,
let's get.
and antivirus started running in the background.
That would do it.
So we were just bantering while you were gone to keep a little intermission. So it's back to you, Mr. Host.
So I heard we had a couple follow-up points about the Nickel and Dime website. I do believe, Eric, you were first.
My point was I think more to the overreaction. which we were discussing while you were coming back in. But the nickel and dime websites, I think more than anything, the problem is that people want to be first, and that's all that they're concerned with. You have an entity like the Disney Parks blog that is trying to give us their spin. You have others that just want to say that they're first. They're trying to throw everything that they can against the wall just to see if something will stick. They're not looking at what can we do long term. We're going to give the best effort possible. They're just going for pure volume. And that's, I think, what sets this company apart from other websites, is that we're not looking, and the reporters are not looking just to see how much they can throw out there, but what they are putting out there is quality and something that everyone associated with this company can be proud of, to say that's who I'm a part of.
I agree with that 110%. We are proud to be a part of this. Jason, follow it up.
I think one of the main things that sets WDWNT apart from a lot of the competition is that we have actual real sources inside the company. And that's how we can break stories as big as Disney Springs and be the absolute first to break the story. So there are plenty of these other sites out there that either don't have any sources and just make stuff up, or they don't have sources and they take what someone else posts and post it as their own, to sort of just feed their ego and pretend like they have sources. But, if you look at the number of stories that WDWNT has broken over the past 2 years, there are a significant number of stories that we have broken, honestly, truly, before anyone else. And that's because we have sources. And, I think that's the difference between us and a lot of other sites. Sure, there are certainly other sites out there that have sources, but there are a lot that don't.
Indeed. There are points over here. We have a quick one for David.
Okay, so I'll try to make it quick, but I think you asked the question, should we expect more from the name brand sites than the smaller sites? And I say no, we shouldn't expect more. We should expect the same level from all sites that are stating that they're presenting news. We should expect them to at least give a nod to journalistic integrity. If they have a bias, if they have some type of connection with the company, if they're being invited to do something that's being comped, just say that up front when you're reporting it, and then everything will be fine. If you're getting it from Randy Rumor on the bus, just say that. Say that you heard it from a bus driver. At least then we'll know where it's coming from. You don't have to hide your biases. If you just state them up front, you're at least going to be more reliable.
We're actually going to talk a little bit more about biases and sources in a little bit, but Justin wants to get back in there and make it a full Around the Hub.
Yeah, just to Jason's point about the difference between us and them, and not only just the source side of it, but it's also, I think, the objectivity side of it. So these guys who have sources use it, much like what David said, in a lot of cases for personal gain or to stay in good graces of certain arms of the company. Good, bad, or indifferent, we're a little less concerned about that. We're more concerned about making sure that folks have, no comment. But we're more concerned about making sure that folks who listen to us have what our honest opinion is and what our honest views are on these topics. So we kind of, in some ways, use our sources more for good than for evil. So.
WDWNT on the light side of the force. All right, we continue with this main topic. Jason, what does WDWNT owe to its fans in terms of our reporting? All those great listener viewers out there.
I think we owe it to our listeners and our viewers to be as accurate as we can be, and as timely as we can be with the information we have. That's what reporting is all about. We are accurate in that we tell them whether it's a rumor or whether it's somewhat confirmed within the company. We are accurate when we tell them that we were invited to a media event or whether we were there on our own dime. We are accurate when we tell them it's from a source inside the company or not. We provide photo reports that back up a lot of the news that we report, so it's plain as day, and they can come look at it. So I think journalistic integrity is what we owe them, and I think that's what we provide to them.
I do not disagree one bit with what you were saying. I guess I got that already. All right, moving on to the next question. David, should the staff on the site defend our reporting or let it stand for itself?
I'm not sure I can answer this question because I think each reporter kind of has to decide for themselves. Do they feed the trolls and do they try to defend themselves, or do they just let it stand? Now, personally, I would just let it stand because, as has been mentioned previously, we're right more often than we're not right. The number of things that we've reported that have actually come about and have been pretty close to what was reported is significantly higher than those things that we reported and either changed or didn't happen at all. So I think we could just stand on that and keep doing what we're doing, and eventually people are going to come around and realize that we are a reliable site to get news from.
Excellent points there, David, and I love the conviction with which you spoke them. Justin, what do you think the most important thing we do as a network is?
It's a little bit of a loaded question. I mean, I'll let the charity efforts that we make kind of stand out on their own, because I think that's something that we actually do that actually makes a difference. And so that aside from there, I think from the start, from the first day Tom and I spoke about this the day after the site launched, and as everybody else has come on, what this was always about was filling a gap and providing what we felt the community needed, or what we heard the community needed, and now that's evolved into, we have this great listener base and this great fan base on some level, and what you guys tell us you need. And so I think that's the most important thing we do, is serve the people that we listen. That listen to us, that read our stories, that come to our live events like this, the more that we do. So filling that gap and providing what you guys want to hear and what you guys want to see, and in a lot of cases that's breaking stories. In a lot of cases that's more interactive programming like HEH or News Tonight. It's things like the podcast break. That's as goofy and as ridiculous as that event is. People really like it, and so that's to me the most important thing we do. This goes back to the community engagement piece that we talked about earlier. Is just providing what people want, and so that's to me that's what it's all about.
Quick one, Eric.
Honestly, I think the most important thing that we do is we push. We push our competition, and I think that we push ourselves. Stories like Disney Springs being broken, that doesn't happen if you don't have reporters and websites trying to scoop each other. And if we're not working as hard as we are, we're not pushing others to continue to push us. So I think that if you want big news and you want stories to be broken, you want accurate portrayals of what the Walt Disney Company is doing, you have to continue to push. And if we're not pushing, or if we're not being pushed, it makes you lazy. Nothing is better for things like reporting and like journalism than good, healthy competition.
That's great. I like what you're saying there. David, do you feel that many fans are eager to jump on a story before giving it any time to play out?
Yes, I do think that, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I think that having fan reaction is vital to this community. Jason gave a good example of this while you were gone in talking about Guardians of the Galaxy. Yes, we don't know the full details of that report. We don't even know where it's going yet. But it's okay for fans to have a reaction to that, to talk about maybe that doesn't fit in Epcot. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that reaction as long as you don't go overboard with it. The number of times I've heard somebody say, I'm giving up my annual pass tickets because Disney removed the French fry cart. I mean, really, let's be honest about this. We can have a reaction, but let's not go overboard with it. Let's make sure it's measured. And then when we finally do get to see whatever it is that they're putting in place, then we can give a full review of that and not decide too quickly.
I was very close to throwing away my DVC until the egg roll cart came back. Justin, go ahead.
I think David started to allude to this. The one thing that is wrong with it, though, is when folks take it so incredibly far that it's over the top, around the corner, and takes you all the way to Tokyo Disneyland. I mean, it's ridiculous when we get so enraged about Guardians, like we were talking about earlier, coming to Universe of Energy, when we really don't know about it. Now, if you're saying, hey, the conversation is, I don't think Guardians fits anywhere in Epcot, and that's a valid conversation. If the conversation is, the company is going to do such a horrible job with this because that building doesn't serve right, and the theater car is there, that's the wrong venue, and blah, 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 blah. We don't have that level of detail, guys. Let's back it down a little bit. Let's have the conversation about what we know. We know Guardians might come to Epcot, so let's have that conversation. Let's not take it so far that we then get into every pavilion's going to have a character, and this is wrong because that's not Epcot. There's just some level when things get so overboard that I just can't take it anymore.
More on Epcot a little bit later on. Jason, a pretty easy question coming up for you. Do you think reliable sources intentionally mislead sites?
I doubt it, because at some point the reliable sources become not so reliable at that point. So I don't think they intentionally mislead. I don't know that they have. They don't really have that much skin in the game. They're a source for us. They're doing a service to us. They don't get a lot out of it, except for maybe Tom taking them out to dinner or something once in a while. But realistically, anybody who works for the company could pretend to be a source, and they could mislead some sites. But at some point soon thereafter, the site's not going to listen to them anymore. So it's really the same question you asked about what do we owe our listeners is the same as what does the source owe us. Well, if they're a reliable source, they owe it to us to be reliable. And when they stop being reliable, we'll stop listening. Just like when we stop being reliable and trustworthy, our listeners and our viewers can stop listening. That it's the same sort of interplay there.
All right, David, very fast.
So could there be individuals that mislead us? Yes, absolutely. And that's why you do multiple confirmations of a story before you report it. Is it a corporate-wide conspiracy to mislead WDWNT? No. I work in the corporate world. I've seen Disney corporate inside. I've watched Disney corporate from the outside. There is no way they're organized enough to do a conspiracy of that.
Eric, you had a follow-up before that I skipped over for you. If it's quick, make it happen.
Sure. Actually, to follow up on this, I don't think that individuals are intentionally misleading. I think that it may happen if there's a new website, a new entity that's looking to try to put themselves on the map. You may have someone that is trying to sort of ferret out websites that really don't sort of belong. But I don't think that they're doing it. I don't think that's the standard rule, because really, what do they have to gain from it? As it's been said before, most sources are anonymous, and anonymous sources aren't looking for, they're not getting the notoriety, so they have no reason to just try to sort of dismantle or sort of stab a company like WDWNT in the back.
All right, speaking of rules and things of that nature, Justin, what should the cardinal rule of theme park reporting be?
What do I wish it would be? I wish it would be objective. I think that the worst thing I've seen over the 9 years of doing this and the evolution of some of our competition is the complete pandering just to get invited to an event, or just to get a free meal, or just because you're afraid that somebody's not going to like you anymore. That does nobody any level of service. The majority of a lot of what we do is the feedback piece, right? So as soon as somebody breaks Disney Springs, for example, everybody's going to have it. So that's not. It's cool and it's fun and it's an important service. But then the discussion around what that means for Walt Disney World, the discussion around do we like Morimoto Asia, those types of things I think are much more valuable in the long run to folks who travel to these parks and the resorts than anything else. And so the constant pandering and the constant division between those of us who don't pander and those of us who do, I think is the biggest thing that gets my goat. So if I could create one rule, it would just be objective.
Jason, quick follow-up.
Yep. I think many of our listeners know WWNT does not have media credentials at Walt Disney World, and we're proud of that, and that sets us apart significantly from those reporters that have media credentials and they're proud of it, because we can certainly be more objective than they can.
Mm-hmm. All right, Eric, you're getting the big loaded question, so good luck with this one. Is it okay to show bias on shows such as this one, WDW News Tonight and Serial 8, and expect your reporting to be taken as unbiased?
Absolutely. Why wouldn't you expect that? I mean, a show like this, a show like See You Real Late or WDW News Tonight, NT News Tonight, they're variety shows. They're entertainment shows. We discuss news. We even report news in segments on those shows. But that doesn't mean that we can't show bias, that we're not having opinions. Where in a newspaper has there never been an editorial section? Why do you have columnists, not just reporters? You do that because you want to know how certain people feel, whether it's pro or against. You want to know what someone thinks. That's the best part of a show like this, or of See You Real Late. But that doesn't mean that that takes any integrity out of the journalism that is reported, or any of the news that's reported by our reporters. I don't think that there's necessarily a place for reporters to sort of inject commentary while reporting news. That's totally different than what we're doing in a forum like this.
All right, that is going to bring to the close the first segment of our first round, as we're running a little bit long today. I take a quick look at the scoreboard, which usually you guys don't hear me doing. Math is hard. All right, we look at Justin Hyman in the lead with 32 points. Eric and David tied for second with 29. And Jason Diffendahl right behind them with 28 points. Plenty of time for points in the second segment of our first round as we take a tour around the entire Disney company as we have the keys to the kingdom. Here we're going to make go my script timeout. Come on back, script. Here we're going to make some quick points on the news of the Disney Empire. Eric, you cleaned up the last round. You are starting on this round. Which Guardian of the Galaxy ride rumor troubles you the most?
Actually, the rumor that troubles me the most is that the chairman of Parks and Resorts actually spearheaded the decision to overlay this. I think that we talk about overreaction of fans and of theme park guests. I think we need to start talking about the overreaction of management with the Walt Disney Company. Disney is so desperate to get something Marvel in on the East Coast, they're going to do whatever they can to shoehorn something like a Guardians of the Galaxy property in. They tried to do it with Big Hero 6, and that just didn't translate into the theme parks as well. Guardians of the Galaxy seems to maybe translate a little better, and I think that's the first step in trying to get Marvel into the parks.
You watch what you say about Big Hero 6.
I loved it, but a good movie doesn't necessarily translate well into the theme parks.
All right, Jason, we're going to swing it over to you. Is there an intellectual property that could be added to Epcot that would fit better than what is rumored?
I think there's probably 25 of them. We talked about this on News Tonight, where Frozen fits well in Norway. I think Brother Bear fits well in Canada. I think Big Hero 6 would fit well in Japan. I think just like Nemo fits well in the seas. You could certainly have any number of properties that fit in Epcot. I think the key here is that you want to have a property that fits into a current pavilion in Epcot and not have to destroy an entire attraction to put something new in. Because if you have to destroy an entire attraction to build something new for a certain intellectual property, then by definition that intellectual property didn't fit to begin with.
I don't agree necessarily with your take, but I really like it, so I'm going to give you some points for that. Justin, will we see the return of all alligator crocodile references in the park? Should we?
Should we? Patrick wants me to get hate mail.
No.
So will we? Absolutely. I think any of this will fade with time. It's already kind of started to leak back in. Although at the last minute removing TikTok Croc from Playhouse Disney or Disney Junior, sorry, old school name there. Was I think a little ridiculous, but yeah, we need some sensitivity. I get it. We've got to temper things, but these jokes have existed for years and years and years. They're not a slight to anybody, and I think ultimately the company recognizes that. So maybe not the watch your kids on Jungle Cruise. That may never return because I think that's just a little bit going too far. But I think TikTok will be back at Disney Junior Live on Stage. I think other things will seep back in. I'd give it 2 to 3 months at the most.
Wow, that's a bold prediction.
I'll go on record. I'm wrong most of the time, but I'll go on record. Sorry.
That's fine. David, another big rumor is the DVC coming to a moderate resort at Caribbean Beach. How do you see this working out?
Well, first of all, I think they had to do it because they just ran out of deluxe resorts to put them in. So this was the only place on property they could do it. As a DVC owner, I'm interested in this from two directions. First of all, I'm not sure, but is this going to be a moderate DVC resort? Or is it just going to be the normal DVC resort that's stuck into a moderate property?
I've never thought of it that way. That's a great point.
So, and what is that going to do to the value of the points that we already have? Now, are they going to start selling points for cheaper, which reduces the value of the points I already have? That's, kind of the elitist concern of mine. But even beyond that, if it's going to be a moderate DVC resort, does that mean I could stay there for fewer points, which I love?
That's what I'm hoping for.
I'm glad they're not building yet another view-stopping site that I will never be able to see the inside of. I'm looking at you, Bungalows. I'd rather have something that I could stay at for fewer points and be able to extend my points even further. And if they use it to sell more points to more people, I'm okay with that.
I'll give you points for that, David, since Patrick has seemed to drop out.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, Eric,
I think that really your point to that, I think, is really spot on. I think as a company or as an arm of the company, DVC can't sell points for less money.
Right.
Because the costs are always going up. It wouldn't make no financial sense for them to sell points for less money. So I don't think the elitist side of you has to worry there. What I'm hoping, and as you said you're hoping, is that the points, the cost per room night is less at the Caribbean Beach. And now Patrick is back.
Welcome back, Patrick.
You guys remember how you were like, we probably shouldn't publicize this. Bad things can happen. I said, don't worry about it. We got this. I tried to give David a point, and I closed my window. So, David, if you could pick up where you left off just for my sake. Or if not...
I'm not sure where you dropped off there, but
Okay.
I think the main thing that I was saying is I'm looking forward to having a place where I don't have to use as many points to stay on property.
All right, that's a great point, and we'll move on from there. Jason, what moderate resort would you rather see DVC come to?
I like Caribbean Beach. Caribbean Beach was the first moderate resort. It was my favorite moderate resort. I stayed there opening year, and I've stayed at Port Orleans. I've stayed at Dixie Landings. They're fine. I don't think it much matters. Part of the difference that Caribbean Beach has is that there's more space because it's a much more spread out resort, like Coronado is. So I'd say the place that DVC physically fits best is going to be at Caribbean or Coronado because there's the space for it. There's just not the space at Port Orleans.
Yeah, that's true. And Port Orleans is definitely what I was thinking about, but you're totally right on the space there. I was busy putting my lower third back up, so you didn't have any sound effects, but you did get quite a few points. Eric, back to the parks. All signs point to the Muppets having a patriotic show in Liberty Square. Is this the right place for them?
That's it. Set up the guy that hates the Muppets with a Muppet question. Good job. Absolutely. Why not? I mean, truly, one of the things that really irritated me for several years, and from people associated with WDWNT, was that Marvel did not belong inside the theme parks. You know what? It's a Disney property. The Muppets are now a Disney property. They absolutely belong. If it's themed appropriately and themed correctly, I don't have any problem with them being inside of the Magic Kingdom. I question whether Liberty Square is the best place because, Tomorrowland almost sounds like it could be a fit because there was Muppets in Space. You could sort of take off of that. But at the same time, if you're going to have them, I can see sort of the take on the Hall of Presidents. Several years ago, there was the idea when the Muppets were first going to be acquired before Jim Henson died. There was the idea was that Disneyland was going to be taken over for a year by the Muppets, where all of the Fab Five was going to vacation for a year, and they were going to tour all throughout the country, and it was going to be the Muppets that were going to be inside Disneyland theme park. I think that it's a great idea to have them. If they want the property to survive, it's obviously not going to be on television, and it's obviously not going to be on the big screen. So have them in the theme parks. Have them in the Magic Kingdom.
I'd much rather see a Muppet makeover of Mission Space.
Wow. I'm not allowing points in this round, but that was a good follow-up. All right, we're going to swing it over to you, David. Would it be a big mistake for Disneyland not to have a nightly fireworks show?
Yes, it would be a big mistake. Two reasons. First of all, history. Disneyland has had a fireworks display forever. It's an excellent way to cap off the visit. It kind of wraps the whole evening up. And it is that way of saying goodnight to everybody. The second thing is just a logistics viewpoint. If you don't have fireworks in Disneyland, that means that everybody is going to migrate over to California Adventure for World of Color. That's going to get packed out. You're going to lose your capacity in Disneyland. So if you want to really spread the crowds out, you really need to have that fireworks there to try to keep the crowd somewhat balanced. You're still going to get a migration in between shows, but at least this will hopefully keep some people in the park. And yes, Jason, I would hope that they would make World of Color better so that becomes less of an issue. To those around in the neighborhood of Disneyland that are complaining about fireworks, let me say this. Unless you bought your house 50 to 60 years ago, which is unlikely considering it was an orange grove, stop your whining. You knew you were moving near a theme park. You knew the theme park had fireworks. Stop your complaining. Get over it.
Yeah, stop your belly aching. All right, Justin, last question. You are teetering on the brink of elimination. Sticking with Disneyland, a question that has oh my God, I don't have the updated script on here.
I was wondering if it was just me. Like this sentence just ends.
Yep. By the way, I'm going to listen to the two veterans when they say we probably shouldn't publicize this too much.
How many people are watching this live right now, Justin?
Oh, well, we just now it was 11. Now it's 9. Thank you, 9.
What is this script you speak of? This is spontaneous competitive banter.
Well, we're back up to 10.
Good. I'm glad they came back.
Justin needs a bit of a handicap, so he gets the script ahead of time.
Maybe they want to see. Okay, here it is. Justin, sticking with Disneyland, a question that has probably been asked a million ways. Is that the right place for Star Wars Land?
This question. Why? Why would Disneyland be the wrong place for anything? Why? Because Walt didn't own Star Wars, and so therefore we can't put Star Wars in Disneyland. I can see both sides of this argument on some level. Being a bit of a purist in some ways, particularly when it comes to Epcot. But the fact of the matter is it's a creative property. Disneyland was established to promote creative properties. I mean, in the end, let's all get real. That's what the place was built for. And so it's a very thematic, very engaging, very creative property. I think it will do just fine there. It belongs there no more or no less than Star Wars belongs in studios. No more or no less than Marvel belongs in any of their properties, or the Muppets belong in any properties. So, if it's done well... Wave to everybody.
Hi, Kelly!
Yeah, you're not supposed to do that, but it's all right. We're done. 8 viewers, 7 viewers. There it goes. Next time.
Oh God! How are we gonna do this live every week? This would be a terrible idea.
It's a
Oh,
great idea.
I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying.
Or it's a terrible idea.
It's gonna bring to a close this round.
God.
Mercifully, the first round of live video around the hub is over. Justin went from the brink of elimination to back in the lead. Thankfully, his wife got him an extra point. She showed us that 1 point she was giving him. 42 points for Justin. Jason and David now in a tie with 40. Eric, 39 points. That means you will be taking the first video trip into the pit of despair. Any last words?
It's the first time I've ever been eliminated first. Oh, it hurts. I really thought my positive spin on the Muppets would have done something. I'm never saying a nice thing about them.
Eric, thank you so much for being a part of this nonsense, and I'm sure we will see you soon. Oh, man.
So,
I have music, David. David, did you want to say something?
I was just going to say, we hired a guy that doesn't like the Muppets. Isn't that on the application?
Muppets, check yes or no.
Yeah, for some reason, I guess Tom overlooked that part of it.
All right. Welcome to the premiere of our latest second round. It's called My Magic Plus or Minus. Here, our panelists will have to choose if we need more of something or less of it, or if one park needs something more than another. For example, I may ask, themed eateries in Disney Springs, do we need more or less? Or a new nighttime spectacular, does Epcot need one more or less than the Magic Kingdom? In fact, that last example is our first question. Justin, you are in the lead with 42 points. That means you are going first.
Hold on, sorry. Now I'm having
It's okay.
technical difficulties here. So themed eateries. I
Nope,
No,
that's the
that
other
wasn't
one.
the question.
Sorry.
Pay attention.
Getting my gong soon here. Does Epcot need more or less than the Magic Kingdom as far as nighttime
A
spectacular?
new nighttime spectacular.
Yes, yeah, I would say it needs it more. Epcot's, Wishes has become somewhat classic, and I think by the nature of it retaining some classic nature to it and classic feel, it's a little bit somewhat timeless. I'm not saying it doesn't need a refresh; it could, but Illuminations is starting, and I like it. Just starts to feel antiquated. It's just starting to feel old, and it was great while it was there, and I still really enjoy it. I still really like it, and I don't get me wrong, but I think if you're saying what needs a refresh more, it's certainly, I think it's Illuminations, and Epcot is starting to reinvent itself. I think it's time to reinvent the night as well there. Animal Kingdom started to do it, and is somewhat successfully doing that. So I think it's Epcot's turn. So I would say Epcot needs it more.
You better be careful. They might reinvent the night. My Magic Plus or Minus continues. Jason, you get to chime in. Which needs a nighttime spectacular more, Epcot or the Magic Kingdom?
I would have agreed with Justin and said Epcot up until about 4 months ago when I visited Disneyland and saw Paint the Night. Paint the Night quickly became my favorite nighttime parade ever, and I really want to see that come to Florida. And so, Main Street Electrical Parade is great. It's my second favorite nighttime parade, tied for second maybe with Spectro. But Paint the Night is absolutely amazing. And even though I do think that Illuminations does not age as well as Wishes, I think that Paint the Night needs to come to Florida, and I really, really hope it does as soon as possible.
David, your turn. Which needs a new nighttime spectacular more than the other? Epcot, Magic Kingdom.
I'm going to say Magic Kingdom desperately needs something new in the night. I mean, yes, Illuminations should be replaced, and hopefully they'll do that soon. But honestly, I cannot watch Wishes anymore. I cannot watch the Electrical Parade anymore. That
Ooh, easy.
I just let's get something new in there. Those have to be retired so they can go off to Classic Land, and we can all have good memories of them.
All right, Justin. Funko recently released Disney Park exclusive pop vinyls. Do we need more or less park exclusive merchandise from outside sources?
I'm not even a merchandise guy, and I don't see any reason why more exclusive merchandise is a bad thing. The more park stuff out there, the cooler that is. So yeah, no, more. I don't do vinyls, but more vinyls, more licensed stuff. I'll take anything that's park exclusive. Give me a Alien Encounter pop, and I may actually buy it.
I also would buy that as well.
I might buy two.
Got to open one, keep one in the box. Jason, go ahead.
I would say if Disney is not able to make merchandise that is in demand by park goers, then it's a good business move for them to bring in outside companies to do so. I think Disney does make good merchandise, but there is certainly something, these Funko vinyls are in demand by people. Why not bring them into the park and make them park exclusive? It's just a way to generate more sales with something that Disney can't do on their own. They do make plenty of park exclusive merchandise that I like and that I buy. I'm not a vinyl person either, so I probably wouldn't buy these, but I know plenty of people are, and it makes business sense for them to bring it in. They've tried with Vinylmation with this thing on their own, and Funko does a better job with it. So why not bring them in? It makes perfect sense.
I think the big downfall of Vinylmation was the blind box and then not being able to trade them anymore. There's a huge community of Funko people that trade, just like there are of Vinylmations, but buying Vinylmation in the blind box and then being able to trade in the park, I think that was a huge thing.
It was. I think trading in the park was problematic because the logistics were bad. It wasn't a bad idea overall. It was just logistically a problem. If they had dedicated spaces for it instead of doing it in the shops, it probably would have been fine. Or if they set up a place to do it where everyone could come in and trade, they could do it. But trading vinyls is logistically more difficult than trading pins because they're bigger.
Yep.
And that's a big problem and a big difference.
Yep. All right, David, your turn to chime in. More or less park exclusives from outside sources?
I so desperately wanted to be the contrarian on this one, but there was not a single reason I could think of why we wouldn't want more park exclusive merchandise. So I gotta say, bring on more. I mean, other than the impact on my wallet, there's no reason.
And we didn't even mention those sweet park exclusive Haunted Mansion comic book covers either. Those were an awesome thing. Jason, you are going to start this one off. Not Justin. I screwed that up last time. Should we see more or less sequels?
Movies you're talking about?
Yep.
I think the question isn't whether we should see more or less sequels. It's should they put as much effort into the sequels as they would for a brand new movie? And to that, the answer is yes. I am all for sequels to extend a franchise if they are done well and with as much care and effort put into the story as the original. And, I bring up Finding Dory as one of the examples of that. I think Finding Dory was done very well. Nemo was a huge success, and I think the company realized that it would be a big letdown to Nemo fans if Finding Dory was a quick, cheap, thrown-together sequel. And so it wasn't. They did a good job with it. I think Wreck-It Ralph 2 coming out, they're going to do a really good job with it. At least I hope so. They seem to have sort of stopped with these direct-to-video cheapquels because they tarnish the brand. They dilute the power of the brand compared to theatrical release quality sequels. So I don't care whether we get a brand new movie or a sequel as long as it's up to the same quality standard that we expect from Disney.
I wasn't cutting you off. I made a technical error. Very good points there. David, go ahead.
So I think I'm with Jason on this. It's not necessarily a question of sequels or not. It's a question of good films. We need good films. I mean, I would rather have Finding Dory than I would rather have The Good Dinosaur. So as long as they continue to have good films, then I don't care whether it's a 2, 3, or 4. Make them good.
Oh, Good Dinosaur. So bad. Justin.
Can none of you guys actually answer his question, though? I mean, really, come on. So I thought about this long and hard as these two guys were talking, so I had a little bit more time. But I actually think on some level, I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I'm not even sure I agree with this, but say less. I think there was a time when we came up with really good brand new properties, and Wreck-It Ralph's a good example. That's a fantastic movie, and it's a fantastic property with great characters, and a really fun story, and we're kind of getting back into the sequel train, where I'm afraid we're going to lose some of these really fun new stories and fun new characters, and so that's my fear. So, I'm back and forth because I think Wreck-It Ralph 2 is going to be great, and I think and Finding Dory so far I haven't seen it, but the reviews have been pretty good. But I think we've got to temper that a little bit, and we've got to answer the host question too, guys. Come on. Can't do it.
Justin remembers the rules about sucking up, getting you points. All right, David, you're going to start off this one, and it's probably going to be the last question of this round. With the end of Osborne Lights looming, does Epcot need a new Man, I missed not doing things live. Does Epcot need new Christmas decor more or less than Animal Kingdom?
I don't know how to answer this one. So, Patrick, I'm not going to answer it. No, I'm going to say that I think
Not okay.
I think it needs it less. I mean, I don't think Epcot needs a Christmas display. I think that there is enough going on around the property that we don't need to also add Epcot to the list.
And it does have quite a bit of offerings, so I slightly agree with you there. Justin, more or less, Epcot, Animal Kingdom, Christmas decor.
I think less. I think Animal Kingdom, as immersive as that park is, would do a really good job with Christmas holiday. Let's say holiday decorations. Yeah. I think that there's a good story to tell there. I think there's other cultures to bring in there. Epcot has their thing, and they do that. I think that Animal Kingdom would do actually a better job of it, and so I think from that perspective, Animal Kingdom needs it more, and I actually really look forward to maybe that happening.
Wonder what holiday Avatar has. Jason, last chance for points.
For the same reason that Justin said Animal Kingdom needs it more, I think Epcot needs it more. I think Animal Kingdom has such a great theming that Christmas would kind of dilute it. I think Epcot has all of the different countries that can do much more with their own style of Christmas decorations and theming. And, of course, the Lights of Winter need to come back. Without question, that needs to come back. And so Animal Kingdom, I think, especially with Rivers of Light now, or whenever, if Rivers of Light comes before Christmas, they are going to have the nighttime draw. They don't need anything more.
That is an excellent point, and that will bring to a close our second round. Someone will be heading into the pit of despair in just a little bit. I will tell you who it won't be. Justin Hyman, who continues to have the lead with 59 points. That leaves Jason and David, who were tied going into the second round. Jason was able to rack up 17 points. David only able to score 13. That means David Smith, the pit of despair, awaits. Any last words?
Thank you, Patrick. Great job as always. Does that give me the other 5 points I need? No? All right.
Take the curtains with you into the pit of despair.
Yes.
We know Marcy didn't get the curtains. I don't want hate mail from Marcy. I'm kind of afraid of Marcy.
I'm in a hotel, everybody. This is not Marcy's decoration.
All right, thanks, David. I have sound effects to play. Boop, 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 boop. I swear. There they are. Not yet. Get back there, other music. In our face-off round, we will be playing another brand new game for Season 4. Every good Disney fan knows that ADRs are super important. While they usually stand for Advanced Dining Reservations, here on Around the Hub they stand for Advanced Destination Reviews. Here, fearless panelists, we ask you to travel into the future and review a land that is not yet open. For today's ADR, we will ask our final two panelists to give us a review of the upcoming Pandora, the World of Avatar. Justin, you're in the lead. That means you have the disadvantage of going first. Let's see what you have to say about Avatar, your advanced destination review.
Has it opened yet?
We just said
even
the
if we're
future.
5 years out, but has it opened yet? So assuming it's finally actually open, I think we're seeing the continuation of what Joe Rohde has started in the park, which is a really and I really like Animal Kingdom, and I think I've not held this back before, but we're seeing a really immersive, a really well themed, well thought out area, and I think it's probably still light on attractions. We've got the two main attractions that we've heard of, and I think that's okay. Animal Kingdom has never been a heavy attraction park, and I don't think that this should be any different. But I think what we're seeing is a land where we have a really good hallmark attraction in the flying blanking here Banshee ride, but also a lot of storytelling, and I think that's what Joe Rohde wants. Heavily themed restaurants, heavily themed, just areas. A lot of walk around entertainment and attractions with Navi meet and greets, Navi storytelling. A lot of maybe cultural interactions with the folks of the world, and really a very micro look at what Beastly Kingdom could have been in that fantasy area. So it is a fantasy and it's not real, but I think Joe Rohde's going to do his best to make it real, and he's going to certainly he has done that throughout that park, and I don't anticipate being let down. I'm not the hugest Avatar fan. I think it was an okay movie. What these next two movies will bring, we'll have to see. But in this
if those come out,
let's see what opens first. So what we're seeing is that it's a land that stands on its own, irregardless of the movies. It's a land that people can enjoy whether they've seen them or not, because the story is there from the moment you step across that bridge.
You brought up a really great point, and that's something I'm most interested to see is what the threshold of this land is actually going to look like. I know Tom was saying on our live show that it looks like it's just about complete, but I'm hopeful to see what that looks like. All right, Jason, that was a pretty high-scoring final round. You got a lot of ground to make up. Let's see what you got.
Patrick, the year 2025. I've just returned from the opening of Avatar Land.
Oh, God.
I finally convinced them to not spell it in all capital letters. The restrooms are designed for people 12 feet tall. I've got a really interesting perspective on this land because I've never seen the Avatar movie. And after Avatar Land was announced, I thought to myself, I'm not going to watch the Avatar movie because I want to come in with the perspective of someone who's never seen the movie. There's going to be people out there who are going into Avatar Land and who've never seen the movie. And I thought there's plenty of people on this staff who've seen the movie. I want to come in from the different viewpoint and be able to generate that kind of discussion of, does Avatar Land work for people who don't know what Avatar is. And so, but my ADR for Avatar Land is that it absolutely works for people who haven't seen the movie. It's an impressively themed environment. It fits well in Animal Kingdom because Animal Kingdom is an impressively themed environment. It's probably the most abundantly themed park at Walt Disney World, and Avatar Land fits into that mold very well. You have amazing themed attractions, you have amazing themed restaurants, and you have amazing themed restrooms. Everything in that land is well themed. Whether you've seen the movie or not, it's a cohesive theme, and the attractions will be good attractions. Like Justin said, there won't be a lot of attractions, but they are excellent attractions, and we will, we will certainly like them. They may not be e-tickets altogether, but they're good attractions, and they fit well in the theming of the land. And that's what I think you'll see when it finally opens in the next, 12 to 15 years.
That brings to a close the final round here of Around the Hub, and we have a tie for points in the round. Both competitors scored a pretty high total of 11 points. However, with Justin going in with a 2-point lead, he retains that 2-point lead, 70-68. He is the victor of Season 4, Episode 3 of Around the Hub. Come on. Oh, I hate you technical difficulties. I keep pushing the button and nothing happens. Alright, that means that you, Jason Divendal, will be headed into the pit of despair. Any last words?
This guy always wins. I can't win against this guy.
Usually Chris wins.
There's like a hierarchy.
There
like
must
Chris,
be.
Me.
Listen, the boss doesn't win anymore now that I'm no longer afraid of losing my show, so he doesn't get automatic victories like he used to. A little behind the scenes on Around the Hub. All right, that means that you, Justin Hyman, we've decided after 4 seasons that we will, in fact, pronounce your last name properly. You get 30 uninterrupted seconds of a meet and greet to talk about whatever Disney topic you would like. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, go ahead. 30 seconds starts now.
So, first of all, I want to spend 2 quick seconds that we promise this will get better. Maybe. Overall, though, I just, this is my kind of annual PSA. As now we're getting more and more extreme rumors with things like Guardians and Epcot and such. Is hey, folks, take a step back and think about the fact that at least the parks are being developed. There was a long time when parks were just stagnant and just kind of hanging out and being left to rot. At the very least, we're getting money put into the theme parks we love, and whether or not we always love what comes out of them, be thankful that they're being developed, because you could stand around and watch Test Track have walls up around it for 3 or 4 years like I did when I was a kid. Just forgetting stuff.
The 30 seconds is over. I've been trying to play sound effects to that extent, but nothing is working at the moment.
I got a doorbell.
We heard the doorbell. I thought Kelly was going to go answer the door.
All right. So that brings to a close our first live episode of Around the Hub. I would like to thank everybody for joining us. We wave to the losers in the pit of despair as Justin and I go cruising by on Victory Highway. You can catch us every week, Tuesday at 9 o'clock until I can't do the show. But every week for a little bit, Tuesday at 9 o'clock, we're going to be here on YouTube. We will not be connected to NTunes. The NTunes replay will be later. The podcast will be later. The live thing is Tuesday nights, 9 o'clock. And then tomorrow, of course, you can watch WDW News Tonight. So for myself, for the panel, that brings to a close this episode of Around the Hub. Justin, give us that final hub.
Hub.
Let's have a drink on it now.
All right.